been hard and it's still moving fast, but I know, yes I know, yes I know, I know Yah is in charge. Come on, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So unforgivable.
Yeah, wake up, world, wake up. Yeah.
I know he's here.
That body moving.
To get it and to grow into a tree.
Woo!
So free, so beautiful, they can't chase it, they can't take my life. This is yeah, yeah, yeah. This is yeah, 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 yeah. They can't take away tonight. I am a poet.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
So beautiful.
Oh, tonight. I am a poet. So beautiful. So beautiful. Yeah, 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 yeah. How it's shining. Come on. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wake up, Elizabeth. Wake up, world. That was my husband, Phil Hale, and the lovely, beautiful Sky Covington. My God. Grand Rising, Elizabeth. Yes, yes, yes. Let me pull myself up here. Mama Ayaba, it is yours. You're on mute.
In this, me and this computer, I'm gonna get together one day. So happy to be here.
Yes.
Beautiful and wonderful sisters. We have a guest today, and but we're gonna start off right here now. There's so much I want to share. That's my problem. My mom was the same way. She cooked food, be enough for 10,000 people, and only 5 of us are there. So, so I want to share so much with you this morning. The music is awesome. I love it that you start with the music, especially rhythmic music. Let me ask you something. Can you hear this? Hold on. Can you hear that? It's muffled.
Yeah, muffled, but we can hear it a little bit.
Okay. All right, I just want to know. Okay, where shall I start? First of all, we're going to talk about culture today, different kinds of culture. And the sister who's going to present is going to also share with us about agriculture, the oldest culture. So I will start with the role of the oracle. If any of you saw The Matrix, you saw who the oracle was, right?
Yeah.
Oracle was a Black woman, a queen mother, and she baked cookies. She made sweet things. So the role of the oracle is to serve as a vehicle for the communication of God's wisdom to man. The ancient text symbolizes it as a cauldron that contains spiritual food for the nourishment of superior men, that they may in turn uplift mankind. The cauldron is an emblem of the spiritual practices that have been evolved by all cultures to assist people in their spiritual development. This includes bringing forth the next generation of ancestors returned. I know people call them babies, but in traditional culture, they are called, or we are called, ancestors returned. If I remember correctly, Queen Abuni said that she also remembers things from other lifetimes, including the return of her children, the return of her husband. So I'm not telling you something that you don't know. As a matter of fact, what I love about the Elizabeths is that when you talk about things, when everybody is doing their different programs, the confirmations come because we are basically traveling the same roads. And we're familiar with what each one is talking about. And that is just so wonderful. You know how lonely it can be when you're talking about something and don't nobody know what you're talking about.
Yes.
So their food is an accumulation of life experiences of previous generations and the current parents. I'm reading you what I've written. So their food is comprised of genetic material as well as the fallout of the current parents' diets and habits. It includes, but not limited to, the current parents' bad and good habits, bad disciplines, good disciplines, or lack thereof. It defines who and what you are and what your function is, whether human or divine. What will you take from the cauldron, and how will you manifest it in the world? The cauldron is healing. It sacrifices its content for the good. It is unselfish. It is ma'at, God's love, and by default, God's justice. Therefore, it is your healing. It symbolizes the womb, thereby mandating that only when the womb is cleared of all its trauma can you manifest all the love and justice and healing you want to see in this world. That is whole health and optimal wellness from conception to creation. Next, who and what you are. Want to know who and what you are? You are a powerful energy center selected by the intelligence in the universe to do what you do. You are the portal of life, of creativity, of wellness, of the healing fire of all that is good. You make life continue. You are the portal of God's life force to return to the earth through the earth, which is you. You are the lawgiver. And when all is in order, your mate is the enforcer of that law. When you are in order, your life is in order. Your children are in order. Your mate is in order. And when shall that be? When your divine womb is healed and is in order. Sacrifice is intentionally giving up something for the well-being of another. Sacrifice that which blocks you from being all that you can be, all that you were created to be. Redefine yourself, then redivine yourself. Okay. And last but not least, the divine power of your sacred womb. You want to say something?
Greetings, Mama. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
I say, I made it in.
Blessed love, grand rising, as they say. All right, the divine power of your sacred womb. The womb, like the cauldron, contains a spiritual being who is clothed in the flesh. That flesh is provided by its mother and the amniotic supply. Amniotic fluid is responsible for. I thought this was so amazing. Women, we don't know all that we do. So that's one of the reasons I pulled this out. We don't know all that we were created to do. We don't know all that goes on inside this womb when this seed meets this egg. And just for a little aside, a friend of mine told me yesterday that the women's liberators, have come up with a new idea. They want to penalize the penis. They think the penis.
Wow.
Them crazy women. I'm telling you, sisters, don't follow the world. The world is going over the cliff. The divine power of your sacred womb. Protecting fluid is its food for the fetus. The fluid cushions the baby from outside pressures, acting as a shock absorber. Guess what? Temperature control. The fluid insulates the baby, keeping it warm and maintaining a regular temperature. You ain't doing all that. You don't even know what's going on. We just have it in us. Infection control. The amniotic fluid contains antibodies. Lung and digestive system development. By breathing and swallowing the amniotic fluid, the baby practices using the muscles of these systems as they grow. Muscle and bone development. As the baby floats inside the amniotic sac, it has the freedom to move about, giving muscles and bones the opportunity to develop properly. Everybody gets excited when you feel the baby kicking. You know the baby got all his parts now. You can't see it, but you determine that that's what's happening by the action. Lubrication. Amniotic fluid prevents parts of the body, such as the fingers and toes, from growing together. Webbing can occur if amniotic fluid levels are low. Umbilical cord support. Fluid in the uterus prevents the umbilical cord from being compressed. This cord transports food and oxygen from the placenta to the growing fetus. Normally, the level of amniotic fluid is at its highest around the 36th week of pregnancy, measuring around 1 quart. This level decreases as birth nears. And also, if you didn't know it, there's a light in your womb, a bright light given off by the umbilical cord. And if you've never seen the umbilical cord, it has a variety of colors. Now, I don't know what determines the color, but most of the time it's like the colors of the rainbow. But I've been told that some umbilical cords are not quite as bright as some others. So maybe someone else can shed some light on that. When the waters break, the amniotic sac tears. The amniotic fluid contained within the sac then begins to leak out by way of the cervix and the vagina. Nobody could tell me what the water break meant. I had to find that out when it broke. Of course, you are a participant in the development of all this matter, even though you are the one providing the material for its form or body, if you will. You do not see it forming, yet you know that it is, and in most cases can discern how it is developing, how it feels, how it moves, understands, and you can also see how it affects your own personality as it develops and grows inside of your person. We could tell in our family whether you're having a boy or a girl, just by the way you look, by the way you acted. Your whole personality conforms to the personality of the baby you're bringing into the world. It's phenomenal. I'm amazed at it, and I had a baby. So, yet with all of this, most of us see only the physical effects and the waiting until it is born or exits the womb. It's home for X amount of months. You see the effects of too little water, too much salt, the swollen nose and feet. You see the weight gain and the feel of exhaustion of urinating a lot and mood swings. And let's not forget the stretch marks. Remember the anxiety of your own thoughts and fears right alongside your joy and excitement. The fears generated by past negative experiences, yours and someone else who may have had a hard pregnancy or opted for termination of a pregnancy. It's all in there. Guess what else is in there? The generations before yours. The enslavement and kidnapping and rape and other mental and spiritual abuses are there too. Do you know that the part of your body that has been injured sustains the memory of that injury? So many scholars believe the pain and trauma are incidents prevented from being completed. These can be single and damaging events, such as a car accident, continuous bombardments requiring emotional defenses, or overtraining of isolated muscles that lock the body into a recognized pattern. Traumas can be considered anything that keep us locked in a physical, emotional, behavioral, or mental habit. Recovery from trauma is the process of the body finding balance and freeing itself from constraints. All too often, the recovery process is halted, preventing the traumatic occurrence from completing. There's more and more and more, but I'm not going to do it all in one day. So what I want to say is that many times we think that when we're going through something in our head, that is coming from the head. Everything not coming from the head. You have muscles in your body that have their own memories. Sometimes you can put your hand over hot water, and it's a hand that's been burned in the past. And you put it over hot water, it's almost like you feel like you're being burned again. And you know you're not being burned, you're looking at it. So I bring all that up to share with you this phenomenal machine that is called a womb man, or they call a woman or a female. And if you notice, woman is womb man or womb of man, and female also has a woman in it, the ma, M-A, and F-E for iron, and it's indicative of what they call the female, yet it has the word male in it. So I call it the iron of the man, the strength of the man. That's what the woman is. So I'm sharing with you these things so that we call ourselves goddesses and queens, etc. But a queen has the ability to shape and reshape and mold her entire community, not just by what she does, but a lot of times by what she doesn't do. Like doesn't nag, doesn't fuss, doesn't yell and scream back at you, doesn't kill you when she feels like you ought to be dead for the stupid things you say. However, as we grow and begin to know certain ways about our queendom, and dumb, by the way, doesn't mean dumb. It means your dome, your queen dome, your head, the power of the brain spirit that dwells within this thing they call your head. And it's amazing because when you're little, they would tell you about your temple, but we never considered the temple as the temple, our entire physical being. We never considered that, but this is the temple. And God created itself in the image of your being, how you look right now. And if we can begin to understand that we are not this physical being, you have never seen yourself. We have never seen ourselves. You see this image in the mirror. You see this reflection back at you. That is a reflection of your physical ancestors. But that which is you, that creates what you do, that creates how you are, that's the God that dwells in you. As some people say, that's your eguns, your ancestors that dwell in you. One sister told me a long time ago, there's only God. There's only Allah. There's only Olodumare. There's only Oduduwa. There's nothing else. People say, well, there's the devil. No, that's you creating them negative reactions and responses to your life experiences. And if you continue to do that, you're going to make yourself sick, and you're going to make other people sick around you. And you're going to die early instead of staying here throughout your term. I don't know if anybody want to live to be 900 years old, but it's worth a try, you know. So that having been said, anybody have any comments, questions? Okay. Now I want to share with you the 12 major tests of life. The 12 major tests of life. This comes from the Yoruba people. And believe it or not, in a movie called, I think it's Steve Biko, he said, we've answered questions that you have yet to ask. So in the 12 major tests of life. I'm not gonna give you all of it, but it talks about what you go through at each age every 7 years and what your parents are responsible for and what will happen if you don't get it from them. So for those of you who have little children, I'll start with that. As you approach the age of 7, you began your first conscious test, the maternal test, during which for the next 7 years, your mother would begin to attempt, with the assistance of your father, to train you to respond to commands like, girl, get over here, or sit down, do your homework, wash your washcloth out, brush your teeth, all those things that our parents taught us, although after we get grown, we think we taught ourselves. You haven't just awakened to the fact that you could accept or reject commands. If you consider them unpleasant, you begin to clash with your parents. If you succeeded in outsmarting your mother through guile, excuses, and lies, and you got your way more than she got hers, you failed the first test of life. It was your parents' fault. They did not understand discipline, and you were off to a poor start in life. The paternal test began as you approached 14 years. Whether you had a father or not, Baba Luaye, the taskmaster God, tested you with your household work and chores and learning of a very basic nature. If your parent and teachers forced you to attend to your duties and classes, you passed this 7-year period. If both you and they let you slide, you failed it, and you were terribly unprepared for the third cycle, which is the test of peers. The test of peers requires that you learn to get along with your own generation. If you could not keep up with it physically or intellectually, if you backed out of everything with clever subterfuges, if you were a loner, if you were trying to get something for nothing, if you ducked too many responsibilities placed in your path, you blew it. Chances are, if you failed the first two, you were bound to fail this one. And last but far from least, the self-test is there when you approach 28 years and began to wonder just what you should do with your life. You notice people in that age group, they'll say, I'm trying to find myself. Soul people say, oh, there it is right there. I'm trying to find myself. Those who have accepted the disciplines of the previous stages will be able to apply themselves with method and care to whatever their course may be. The undisciplined will be impatient and give up. They will switch from one thing to another because all of them seem to be too long or require too much concentration and devotion, or they will sham and deceive. They will come phonies or charlatans. And this goes all the way up to age 84. So I will share some more with you if you have any questions about those stages and all. I know that everybody in here who's raised a child have seen all those stages that I just named. And you have seen the results of what happens when we're not able to do the things that we're required to do so that these children will be straight. And now you're looking at a generation of young people in the age group of their 20s and late 20s who don't know what to do, where to go, or how to do it. Not all of them. I said a generation. That's a generation. That's a generalization on a generation. So anybody have any comments or questions? Okay.
Well, Mama, that was fascinating. I didn't know about I knew about 7 years, you regenerate your skin, all of that happens. Mm-hmm. You're a new person, but I didn't know about how important the training in each of those stages and how if you don't handle it, handle behavior, handle all these things in the first 7 years, when they start learning themselves and wanting to express themselves and stuff. And that's, what is that, 14? And then them 14-year-olds, they get to smelling themselves.
Yeah.
And if you didn't train them right in the beginning, you know, you have those challenges. But
Yes.
then the grace of when you do it right, then you don't have all of that confusion and rebellion and things like that when they get older. I remember Fame my son his name is Fame. And I remember him, he was speaking at the church at that time, and he was saying that he wanted to do something that he knew that I would get in his stuff about. And he just said, you know, I thought about it and I just said, you know, it's not even worth it.
It's worth it.
It's not worth it, you know. Yeah, that's a good teaching there, Mama.
All right, now see, that's what when the word Sankofa, my company is called Sankofa Enterprises Inc. And within it, we have a compartment called Universal Truth Life Skills. And that comes under the life skills. And then Sankofa Land Production, that comes under the music and all that creative stuff that we do. And the cauldron, if you have well, let me show you a picture. The cauldron. That's a cauldron. And if you notice, the cauldron in this picture is setting over water. Most cauldrons are sitting over fire. So one of the keys to even raising our children and training them is to be like water, to flow, to be cool-headed, you know, and when the time comes that you got to bring in the tide and kind of drown them sometimes, you have to do that too. But you have to be ready for all of that. And part of what Elizabeth does, in my thoughts, in the training that I've had, is it mirrors the women's societies of West Africa and all over Africa. It's interesting how people taught us about Africa as though Africa was a country and Africa is a continent, and America, the United States, is set in it 3.5 times. So it's interesting that all the different countries in Africa, which at one time were more like families, and the families became tribes, and the tribes became states, and the states became nations, and et cetera, have the same pattern, the same consistency and order. And you come over here to the Native Americans, or what they call Indians over here, which when Columbus and those guys invaded, they called them Indians because they were using the word Indios, the Spanish people who saw these wonderful brown and black people. Indios meaning people of God. They've always known what we are. So I tell black people all the time, don't fool yourself. Everybody knows more about you than you know about yourself. But even within their system, it's the same breakdown. Women's society, men's society. Women know their roles. Hey, what you doing with that on? I got this, some of you got that on. We didn't even call each other on the phone. Well. And so so now we're here bringing our various experiences and education to share with one another and to find out that basically we've been guided along the same path.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. So the women's society is not gone, is not dead. And I'm gonna just add this one more thing, and we can talk about how now this might hit y'all a little funny. Women and men who think they're gay, for example, are reliving the close connection that they had in the men's and women's societies back in the ancient times. But they have no idea of what it is that's rising up in them. They think that closeness and that emotional attachment has to do with some physical business between each one. We're not Romans. We did not descend from the Romans. We did not descend from the Greeks. That's their way of life. Men became engaged with one another sexually because of the power of the male. They felt like women were too weak. They only came into the woman when they wanted to make kids. They came into the man because they want that power that man had. There's a logic to everything, but you have to study to know these things. And the other side of that is facing reality. I don't allow people to frame my mind. You can't put stuff in. My daddy taught me that. He used to punch me in the head with his finger. Boom, boom, boom. Think. So I've always been afraid, really, to tell you the truth, to let anything in my brain. That's why I never did drugs or hard drugs or pop pills or any of that stuff, because I didn't want to put nothing in me that I couldn't get out. So I'm going to expound on some of this stuff as we go along, but I want to just touch on that aspect of it as well, because the Women's Society is a great thing. Go ahead, sister.
Just reflecting back to speaking about each cycle or stage of life that you go through, and then you were touching on in African culture. But in African culture, each one of those periods are an initiation time, a rites of passage time. And that's what we lack here in the US as our growth, you know, the confusion of what to do, because we follow, like you said, we follow somebody else's culture, somebody else's lifestyle, and not knowing. So like you said, the reading and the studying of culture brings us into our true selves.
Absolutely. We knew back in about 40, more than 40 years ago now, that African initiation was one day going to become boys and girls. What do they call it in the church? They don't call it initiation, they call it something else. But we knew that one day that was going to happen because of the fact that in African culture, you honor your deities, you honor your psychic centers, you honor your ancestors. You set up a table with a candle and with candles and flowers and pictures. And I always tell Black people, everybody got an altar in their house. You just don't know it's an altar. That little buffet everybody got with the plastic flowers or dry flowers on it, candles that you never light. Oh, just about every Black person house I go to got it. And that's an altar. And what is an altar? This is an altar too, your heart. That's an altar also.
Temple. Yeah, temple.
Yeah, well, this entire body is your temple, and they call these two sides of your head your temple. Why do they do that? How did they know that? They're not talking about from medicine. My mama didn't know nothing about the body and what the body is made of when she told us about our temples. And so these customs is what we call culture. And I'm going to start doing rites of passage again. I did it years ago in Florida. And one of the parents came to tell me, she said, I love your rites of passage because you use the Bible. So I said, yeah, I use everything where God is, because God is everything. So there's nothing to be afraid of, you know. Yeah.
Can I tell you a story about an altar story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. My mother, she just passed and we sent her off March 10th. But after that, my 6 siblings, we keep doing little things to feel mother or to be close to her or to, I guess, to keep the love light going.
Yeah.
And so I come from a family that things like altars and shrines, and it's like, I'm the only one that's doing it. And I'm the one that's like, oh, little cuckoo, leave her alone. But I had to let them know that they were doing the same thing. It just didn't have that title, altar. Because for Mother's Day, or was it Palm Sunday? My brother, we have a group page. My brother showed a picture of Mom's picture, a candle, and some palms from Palm Sunday. And everybody, oh, that's nice, that's nice. I told him, I said, see, that is a altar. He couldn't debate with me, he couldn't say a thing. No. Because that's altar. That was a very simple altar. You can be very simple, like you said, well, altars and not even know it, or you can be totally elaborate, you know, with your altars. And altar, you're not, how can I say, you're just honoring. You're not praying to the altar. The altar is just the remembrance. Altar has work to do too, but it's just different altars for different things, you know. and people don't even know that they have it already set up. I see something nice behind you set up.
Behind who?
You, Queen.
Me?
Are y'all about back?
Oh, yeah, you know, I got altars. I got them all over the place.
That's what I said. Yeah, I got altars. Yeah.
I have to be reminded, you know, this one that you see back there is for the ancient Kemetic faculties. You can't see this one over here, but this one is because the art that you gave me to do with my art, that's for my creativity altar. And this one back up here is from my ancestor, but so many of them have passed, I got to get a bigger space to put all the pictures and all their names, you know. And what happens when you have, let's say, an ancestor altar, when you sit down in front of it and you start thinking about those people who raised you, who influenced your life, who trained the way you think and even the way you see things, you begin to feel them. They be coming into your brain, bringing information to you, something you've been wanting to know and hadn't gotten the information. And all of a sudden, while you're sitting there on that floor or on that chair, talking to them, bam, it'll come in your head. Oh my God, yeah, that's the answer. That's what I should do. But we don't think it's coming from the ancestors. We just think it came from nowhere. It just popped into your head. So the ancient practitioners of traditional medicine, traditional healing, traditional thought, it's all one thing. For example, we as females, we as women, we all have breasts, some big, some little. We all have hips, some fat, some small. We all have the thighs, some lumpy, some smooth. I mean, we just, that's what we have. Males have what they got. And I got a grandson. And I remember my friend, Babala Day, he made a song where little boys sitting in the closet playing with their toys. And I said, in my mind, I knew he was not talking about real toys. So when my grandson started playing with his toy long ago, before he even got out of diapers, I said, oh, they start off life like that. Okay, so maybe that's why the grown men be grabbing it all the time. They ain't checking to see what is there, whether it's there. They know it's there. It's a part of that meditation. It's a part of that thing. And we haven't, because we lack the essence, the essential things about culture. When we have sons, we don't tell them that they wake up with their erected penis because it's protected. They're connected to God. They're connected to the sun. Their penis rises when the sun rises. My girlfriend sent me in the room to wake up her boys, of which she had 7 of them. And I went in the room to wake them up, and everybody was standing at attention. I ran out the room. I said, why are you sitting in there? What is going on with them? Anyway, that's a powerful thing. And we no longer have the authority within us to continue to do things and practice a way of life that we know is a killer way of life. Our sons should have been taught this from the day they could understand your voice. They should have been taught their connection to God. They should have been taught that they have an eternal symbol to prove to them that they are continually bound to this spiritual energy that we call God. And when you go into the African Museum in Washington, D.C., there's a statue of a erected penis and an erected pineal gland. The same statue, pineal gland coming out the head and the penis standing in between the man's leg. And people look at it and pass on by, but as soon as I saw it, I knew exactly what it meant. And we know what it means. Go ahead. Any more comments? I'm not trying to blow nobody's mind. Don't y'all be so quiet.
No, but I would like for you to, because I would have probably walked past that and just not really known about the pineal.
Pineal.
Yeah.
pineal and the penis. So could you elaborate? I would be one of those stupid ones who are not,
Don't be, no, you're not
not
stupid. We're
stupid.
just uninformed.
Unknowing, uninformed in the pureness of what that means. So could you elaborate?
Well, your pineal gland has a very serious job. I'm gonna defer that to Howard, and then I'm gonna draw the connection between the two.
Okay.
Go ahead, Howard.
The pineal gland, which sits in the middle of your head, it's like a receiver in a sense. The pineal gland is just a teeny pea that just sits in the middle of your head. A lot of times in our anatomy studies, it's not even addressed because they're still trying to search and figure out the mystery of the pineal gland. But that little bitty gland is the master gland over all the other glands in your body. It's the gland that receives. When you say the pineal gland or being intuitive or the God's eye or the first eye or the third eye, it's what is being received. You know, we have these chakras, and that's something else to get into. But the pineal gland is like the master gland. The master gland is the God's gland. That God gland is your navigation through this world. You know, if you can tap in and activate it. But in reference to where she's going, I'll let her finish, you know.
Let me ask this before you go and explain the other. Is that something that can be destroyed and or hurt, or does everyone have one?
Well, everyone have one, but I'm telling you, it's like how you maintain your body, you know, because everything has a way of decaying. You know, like I say, the Walking Dead, you know, when you don't take care of your body right, yes, it slowly decays. Mm-hmm. So with that, drugs, alcohol, caffeine, all type of things can imprison it, you might as well say. Can you get it back? It just depends. Wait a minute. Before Nawili, it was At Peace. At Peace wanted to say something. You there, At Peace?
I don't see.
I don't see her. Okay, Nawili, she wanted to say something.
Yes. Great rising, everyone. Bless you, sisters. I wanted to say what is so important in a lot of the studies that are going on about the pineal is why they are bringing programs like mindfulness and all of those into the schools, mm-hmm. because that's so important, especially in children where you think it's underdeveloped, but it is so developed at that age and so open that a lot of the movements and the master plans to come against and plow us down from our greatness, there is a movement to attack and push that down so that that doesn't continue to be at its highest and best level for us. So in adults, I would say in meditation, as I've been taught, is we work truly from sending energy and accessing and activating that center to keep us balanced, healthy, and thriving. So without a doubt, and Peace will probably chime in about that. That's why meditation is so important.
I was trying to show a picture, but it's not coming up. Exactly where it sits. It sits just, and it's so teeny, like the size of a pea.
Yes.
And like Sister is saying, that it is programs out there that have these different names and what have you, but basically it is the mastermind. So, yes. And you're right, when a child is born, it comes into this world with everything it needs for the journey. Life start destroying it. That pineal gland is like a bright glow in the head. But, and you can fill that child with everything it needs. It's so receiving and so open. But then once it starts tapping into, no, you can't do this, don't do this, you shouldn't do this, it starts shutting down, you know. And so,
Liv, no, I
go
saw
ahead.
someone on the chat, Liv, L-I-V, where are you? She talked about it getting calcified, and she talked about it being a connection to a higher source.
That's right.
I'm
That's
here.
right.
Peace, peace.
Peace.
Greetings, peace. What you got to say? You had your hand up.
Oh no, I didn't have my hand up. I was just adding some words. I was looking for the picture, but I guess I can add into it.
Yes,
Like
please.
you were saying, it
Can
gets
you-
calcified.
Excuse me, sister, can you,
Picture, show your face.
yeah, as much
Show
as
my face.
possible,
I'm getting dressed right now. I'm not.
Oh, okay, all right, we got you.
I'm getting dressed. I apologize. Next time I'll make sure I'm up and ready dressed.
That's all right. Your words. What's your words? Speak.
But kind of like what you were saying, your connection can be, I guess, overborn and broken up and calcified through the things that you eat, the things that you intake through your eyes, the things that you see, the things that you talk about, the things that you experience. If you're not aware, it can get boggled down and calcified, and it's basically locking you into your human experience and not allowing you to balance the two of your higher experience and your human experience and be able to tap into both. From what I know, some people are born with it calcified because they don't have that strong connection to source like we have. And I think it was the last thing I said you wanted me to chime in about. Oh yeah, I said something about that. So that's pretty much all I really had to add.
This pineal gland, it needs the essence of the sun, that vitamin. That's why it's good, because we are the people of the earth. We really belong on the other side of the equator. So one thing I really chime in on is getting out. I even have a piece when time to speak about grounding, but that pineal gland, it needs that sunlight just to sit out and move things off of it and just let it receive and soak in that sun. That's one way to strengthen it. Meditation is another way to strengthen it. Grounding yourself, centering yourself, affixing yourself to the earth. It helps chime in on many other things, but it activates that pineal gland.
You say she's, no, go ahead. No, I was just going to
ask you. I was just going to ask you what was our next step, because I can continue on with the.
Well, I'm gonna come in. I know you can continue on, and I'm gonna let you continue on. We're gonna do it like like that. So, grounding yourself, knowing that you're connected to the source. By not having this part of our culture, then our males grow up thinking that, and they be ungrounded, thinking that that thing is a tool that they're supposed to put in any kind and every kind of woman they can find.
Woo.
And it's not that. They don't respect it, and it's on their own body. And one of the so what's going on in your pineal gland is reflected in your penis, and even the penis and pineal gland are similar in spelling and pronunciation, et cetera, et cetera. And although it's not like the penis has its own mind, but the emotions that's attached to your mind is reflected through how you deal with your recreating organs. Some people call it your sexual organs. I'm working on that word too. I think that word is something wrong with it, but I haven't found it yet because it got X in it for one thing, and and it's too close to the number 6 for the other thing. In some cultures, they call it joining. Tiffany wrote in pineal equals penal gland, and that's very close to penis. So what I'm saying here, what I'm sharing with you here, is that without the culture that goes into reflecting and training of an acceptance of our minds, of our God-centeredness, then we are being led, misled, misguided towards focusing on the physical aspect of our bodies. And it's reflected in the way she says obelisk is recognized as Osiris, Nimrod's phallus, and I missed the last part. But you know, y'all can jump in and say this stuff too. But it's reflected in the fact that when white men are always talking about how large black men's penises are and comparing them, that seems to be the main function in their lives, is comparing themselves to a black man's penis. I don't never hear them talking about how large our men's minds are. I don't hear them talking about people who can be on a basketball court and figure out the angular, she's holding up the obelisk, and figure out the angular projection of where to place that ball and the speed is needed to reach that basket. They don't talk about the kind of mathematics that's in their minds. They don't talk about the mathematics that's in the mind of our great musicians. And then they took the rap, which wasn't called rap at first. They took the poetry that later on became known as rap. Now they call it hip hop. And they took that and had a meeting. And I know this for a personal fact. They had a meeting with about 19 brothers who were hip hop artists, some famous, some not, at Sony Music Company, and told them that if they did not change that rap music that they were doing, the way they were doing it, and include sexual, what do you call that word? Sexual tones to it, and talk about the woman and do it this way, they wasn't gonna make no money. Wow. There were 19 young black males that were in a meeting with Sony, and a few of them walked out who you never heard of. And you know the ones who stayed because you hear them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this here music business is far from everything that those people do with us is a war. Everything. And we got to wake up, especially women, because we bring the children into the world. We can't leave them out there like a lamb to slaughter. When the last poets were doing what they were doing, I was very close friends with them. And I went to a meeting with them and their lawyer. And the lawyer offered me a contract to perform with them. And I wouldn't take it, because also it came up that the recording company that they were with, I forgot the man's name now, he recorded a lot of albums with them. You know what he did with them? Put them on the shelf and locked the closet. So they went out and started doing stuff on their own. They have a lot of music you'd never heard because they never let it out. Mm. So this and take the blues artists, for example. I wrote a book. I have written a book called Why I Sing the Blues. This right here. Why I Sing the Blues. And I write in there what happened to those musicians. And the music industry was built on their backs, and they got nothing until this white girl came along and fought for them. She got a lot of money for a lot of them, but she didn't get a lot of money for all of them because some had already died, you see. So I'm just sharing this with you because Ayaba and Sankofa deals with reality. Sankofa means you got to go back and fetch that what you left behind. How are you going to go and fetch what you left behind if you don't know what you left behind? So we have to face these things. We have children, and we have to understand when a black child is born, especially a boy, what's the first, I know in my generation, the first thing my grandparents and my mom told them was, don't be caught in no white neighborhood after the sun go down. Don't be running when you're in the street. Just don't run, because they're gonna think you stole something. And it was years that I would go in the store and put my hand behind my back so they would know I wasn't stealing anything. I didn't know why until one day I was in the store and it came to me when I was in Brooklyn, why I got my hand behind my back. And I said, oh my God, I know why. So they don't think I'm trying to steal something. Sister had her hand up. Peace. At Peace has her hand up.
Hey, y'all. I'm looking rough this morning. Don't judge me. Good morning. How y'all doing?
Doing good. I'm gonna judge you. I'm gonna judge you for saying you looking rough. You look good.
Right.
That's right.
Thank you. I love you for that. I'm really loving the conversation, and I wanted to chime in because I was raised with that same, my parents were Black Panthers, and honey, my mother passed when I was 3, but my father kept the tradition going with teaching me about my culture, teaching me about the psychology. My father teaching me about the psychology of pink people really helped me. Yeah, I can't do the black and white. Life has got so many other variables and colors. That's
truth. That's speaking truth. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's part of the mind screw. Part of the mind screw, because a lot of people, I wasn't gonna say this part, but I'll say it anyway. A lot of us don't know about American history is there was a great whitewash. So not just Africans were stripped of our culture, but when they opened the borders to America and said, hey guys, there's a new land. Everybody can come over here and prosper. From Italy, from Australia, from all these other places on the planet, they came to America in droves, right? But they had to sign a contract. And that contract was, you could not claim your culture. You could not claim where you were from, because a lot of these cultures that were coming here, they knew their African tradition. They knew that Africa was the original. They knew where their bloodlines originated from. If you go over to Europe, they're very clear. I used to teach at an Ivy League university for 3 years. They teach it in Ivy League. You know what I'm saying? So it's very understood. So, but the Great Whitewash was when all of these cultures began to come to America to this new free land. They didn't realize they had to sign a contract. And that contract says that you are either going to claim black or white. If you want to come in this country, you're going to either say you are black or you're going to say you are white. Who wanted to say they were black? Who wanted to claim Africa at that point? They weren't going to do that and that meant when they came to this country, they had to give up the way they cooked their food. They had to give up the way that they worshiped. They had to give up all of these other traditions that were part of their culture that stemmed from African culture. They had to give it up, So when we think about the concept of black and white, we really are limiting ourselves. So when I meet somebody, I immediately, where are you from? Where are your people from? Where's your culture from? Because painting this picture of black and white is part of the mind screw. But that's another, I wasn't even gonna say that part. The reason why I raised my hand. Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, you on the road.
That was probably me just giving you a shout out.
Hey, thank you. What I raised my hand for though was so what really helped me kind of shift my mindset over the years, because I realized that a lot of us are in our traumas, still subconsciously, DNA wise, all of that, so I'm like, what is it really? What's the psychology, right? So when you sit down, you look at psychology, most white men, their pineal gland crusts over at about 12 years old. By the time they 12, honey, that thing don't work no more. Okay. And so I got tired of being mad about being who I am, or upset, or feeling like it was a struggle. Like I got to fight you for the right to be me. No, let me look at this for what it is. Let me take the story away and let me just look at this for what it is. So when you look at it for what it is, if their pineal gland crusts over by the age of 12, it's no longer functioning. And you can see this in society today. I don't ever go on social media that much, and I was on it today, honey, and it's the same script, just a different year. It's like it's on their minds are stuck. Like once the pineal crust over, you can't imagine anymore. Your creativity has shut down. So the people that are running this country, AKA running the world, they don't even have the capacity mentally to create a new reality. Like, if we don't step up, we're going to be living in this freaking insane ass bad dream forever. Okay, we have got to step it up, ladies, and use our
That's
creativity,
right.
or nothing's going to change. And it ain't about hate. It ain't about,
No,
one
it's
better than the
reality.
other.
It's reality, Aya. It's reality. That's what we got to deal with. Reality, man. And reality is a good thing. Yeah. Say it again. You got a what? We got a what?
We got to create. We got to use our pineal. We have to use our imaginations and create a way out of this. Because if not, we're going to keep having the same conversations about abortion. We're going to keep having the same conversations about what is a woman and what is a man. We're going to have the same conversations about food and politics. It's an insane loop that the leaders of this world are stuck in. And they're not coming out. I'm just going to let you know that now. They're not coming out.
Well, at my age, I know they're not coming out. I
know you know. I know you see the pattern.
Over again. Yeah.
Yes, I know you see the pattern.
You mentioned the Black Panthers. The news says that the last living Black Panther, they let him out of jail yesterday.
I say,
84 years old. Yeah, 84. Yeah. Yeah, I sure do. We thank you for that. Don't you go? You gotta go to work or something? Don't go nowhere. We have a guest. Tiffany Bryce is here. She's gonna lead us on to the next level of this life that we live. And I want to just I'm not closing. I'm just sealing. Right here it says, the mind has memory, and so do the muscles of the body and organs of the body. I was very blessed to be healed naturally over different periods of my life, from fibroids, endometriosis, diverticulitis, arthritis, migraines, ovarian dermoid cysts, through diet, fasting, and affirmations, music, and meditations. However, the disconnect from our past cultural knowledge has brought us to this imbalanced state of living. The tradition of the rites of passage is an important link to our ancestors and their knowledge of healing, worship, family, governance, education, and all aspects of life. Reconnecting to our cultural heritage is imperative to our survival. Come travel the sacred pathways. That's from Sun Ra. Come travel the sacred pathways to self. Oh, that's an advertisement. Queen Mother. Anyway.
Queen Mama Ayaba.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to let those that are joining us from Facebook and YouTube that it is 9 o'clock, it's a little past 9 o'clock, and we are going to say peace and so long to you. But if you want to join us and continue this conversation, which is real fat, it's real juicy, then just come on over. If you go to elizabethvisionaryconference.org and then hit that ticket, it's free, and come on and join us. Okay, so peace to all of you. Thank you for joining in. And I think, wow, this has been a powerful conversation, and we're going to continue it. You can continue with us if you want to. elizabethvisionaryconference.org. Peace out to you. We love you.
We love you. And I want to now introduce and bring to the forefront